Genesis chapter 3. This is now where the man fell. Then the promised seed. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said to the woman, Yeah, and God said, You should not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat of it, neither you shall touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die, for God does know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. This is one of the last one, the last of the woman. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of God, Lord God, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called into Adam and said unto him, Where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told you that you are naked? As you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you shall not eat? And the man said, The woman whom you gave me to be with me, she has given me of tree, and I did it. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this that you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did it. So they started blaming each other. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly you shall go, and the dust shall thou eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed, and between your seed and her seed. It shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be your husband, and he shall rule over you. There is no way. The woman was cursed. She was cursed to be experiencing labor pains. That means before, women could not have been experiencing labor pains if they did not eat the forbidden tree. And also there is why now they were told they have to be submissive, that their husband will rule over them, and they will always depend on their husband. And to Adam he said, Because you have hearkened into the voice of your wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Adam also fell into temptation. He was tempted by his wife. He was supposed to be the head. He was supposed to be the master of his wife, but he allowed the wife to convince him to do what was wrong. So he was cast to be tilling the land. He was cast to sweat. He was supposed not to be providing for the family like handwork. That is why now men usually link and pot work always, and they have to feed their wives and their families. Thorns also, and this shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread till you turn into the ground, for out of it you are taken, and from dust and into dust you shall return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Also, this is why now they were told that they shall return to where they were formed. They shall return to dust, because God had created them from dust. That is now where death came in. People could not be alive before. But because they committed sin, that's the punishment was they shall die. You shall return to dust. Before there was no death, you should have been immortal. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. So Eve means mother of all living. And the Lord, and unto Adam also, and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them. So the origin of clothes is God who gave Adam and Eve the idea of slaughtering animals and using their skin as clothes. That is something we have learned also. Had the Lord said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the garden of Eden to the ground from whence he was taken. So remember, there were two trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowing good and evil. That is the tree of wisdom. So what they ate the tree of knowing good and evil, but they did not eat the tree of life. If they ate the tree of life, we couldn't have been immortal. Even God could not could have been able to live. Like we couldn't be like God. You see, they are saying, and God said, beyond the man is become as one of us. And they were, as we are saying, God was meaning, because he is saying that God has become one of us to know good and evil. And now let's put forth his hand, take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. Like man would have been like God if he had eaten the tree of life. If I was man, I could have eaten the tree of life. I don't know why they were foolish. He could have eaten also the tree of life so that he could have been immortal. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he was driven off, he was chased away from garden of Eden to go now to make his own land, to make his own garden. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Which is this the sword? Which is the sword which now keeps, which drove man out of, which kept man out of the garden of Eden, and would like to know where it is located. All of this is just imaginations. He drove out the man, and he placed at the east of garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Which is the tree of life? Where is the tree of life? Where is the tree of life? Where is the tree of life located? Or where is the garden of Eden? Okay, so that was the end of chapter 3. Where now the man fell, where the man was tempted because of the woman. The woman was tempted by Satan in form of a snake, And the man was tempted by Satan in the form of a woman. So, men should be careful, because Satan can use a woman to tempt you, can use a woman to bring you down. That is the lesson. You should be careful. Even if God has given you that woman, Satan can use that woman the same way to women. They can be tempted by Satan. Okay.